As children, it was difficult to say that we felt persecution. We only heard things that were happening. But the parents, of course, felt persecution. They were in danger all the time. As a religious Jew, you were in danger literally 24/7. They could come to you in the middle of the night and take you away and never to be seen again.
Did you know people when you were growing up who were taken away, never to be seen again?
Yes, we do. That we did. We would say, oh, Shmuel never came back. I knew there was something happened. But, as a child, you don't feel that you're being persecuted.
Did you have non-Jewish friends in Russia?
Of course. Mostly Georgian, because this is Georgia that I was born in. So it was Georgian people,
but
Jews and non-Jews.
When you were leaving Russia to come to the United States of America, you're a young child. You're not getting on a first-class flight and an airplane to come over here. That journey must have been incredibly harrowing, even from a child's eyes. Did you not feel like you were experiencing trauma as you were leaving your home and making your way through Russia to finally come back to the United States?
I have to tell you that I felt that my parents had this real pressure, but they made us feel always like loved and protected. Wherever we were, we traveled by cattle cars from Czechoslovakia to Vienna. And to us, it was, again, the parents my mother especially, my father as well, just made us feel so protected that I personally do not remember any trauma. At all.
That is so interesting, and I really
I can't believe it myself.
Meaning, this is a generation that is in the shadow of the Holocaust. That in Russia, the Jewish community had to live underground, and you essentially had to, as a child, flee your childhood community and come to the United States. And you feel that you didn't really grow up feeling that you had experienced childhood trauma.
Yeah, let me just give you a little bit of a picture of at home in Russia, Kutaisi, where we were. My mother would teach us from a very young age, the Aleph Bey. We learned how to daven at a very young age. At five, I knew how to daven. I knew how to read fluently from the Siddur. And every single night she would put us to sleep with stories about Baal Shem Tov and so on. And finally, she would say something that I never heard anybody else do. The Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, lived in America at that time. And my mother would say every single night, der Rebbe soll helfen mir sich sehen mit den Rebben. Hashem should help us to see the Rebbe. I'm thinking, where did she get it from?
God should help that we should be able to see the Rebbe. Because you'd never seen the Rebbe.
Never saw a Rebbe, never saw a picture of a Rebbe. And the possibilities were like us going to Venus right now. And yet, that hope and that promise, I think that's helped us to really live in I would say maybe a bubble.
So I'm curious through your eyes, you're a child growing up at home and you have parents who are both Russian immigrants and they're coming in and you're growing up into this world that's now in the shadow on the other end of the Holocaust. When you were growing up, did you have any sense of what your parents experienced? Did you feel that you grew up in a home where your mother insists, I didn't grow up in a home where my parents had any trauma. That's how your mother sees it. Did you feel that you grew up in a home where the experience of Russia and running out actually still loomed? You could still sense that maybe it was being protective, maybe it was... Did you feel that you were able to emote or experience a trauma from your parents?
No, absolutely not. My father, I should qualify, had a little different experience than my mother because his father was arrested and he was a little child. So it would be interesting if my father was sitting here, what he would say about that night
When his father was taken away and arrested.
Taken away, and then taken away meant you're probably never going to see him again. And he was a little boy, and his mother was 27 years old, I think, he was telling me. And every night and every day she would cry, and she would try to find out, where is he? He did survive, by the way. He ended up in Siberia. So, but I don't want to speak for my father, but if my father was sitting here, I think he would say, very similar to my mother, I wasn't traumatized because there was some type of resilience that they had. Maybe it was faith. Maybe it was just a very nurturing environment. And I'm comparing it to today.
Yeah,
today, someone gets bullied in school, they're already traumatized for life. And I'm not minimizing that.
For sure.
But trauma today has a very different meaning than
That's
trauma
what I'm
then.
trying to get to. What I'm trying to understand.
I know exactly. That's what I want to say.
Yes.
So I grew up in a home. Let me just first... My home was idyllic. It was beautiful. I only have warm memories. Both my father and my mother. Loving. No one ever spoke bitterly about the enemies, about the communists, about the Nazis. When I would talk to my father about his own history... And he was 19 years old. He no longer had parents, mind you. My mother, thank God, her parents lived. They came to America. They came to Toronto, my father's parents, and they died 1953 and 1955, respectively, or 54.
He was still young himself.
He was 19. Yeah. He had 2 little baby brothers. So you talk about trauma.
Yeah.
But my father never experienced. My father was a very, I know what children of Holocaust survivors are. I deal with many of them. With my father, completely never felt. If you knew him, you did not know that he went through such a life. He was a successful journalist. He was driven. He was always forward-thinking, very positive, optimistic, to crazy lengths. Like there was no such thing. I never saw fear in him. But I asked my father once. He said to me, we lived in fear 24/7 because they can come to arrest you, as my mother mentioned, anytime. But the truth is, I never even asked him, so why don't you have any fear in your life? But he didn't have fear. He lived around fear. I put it this way. I think that trauma was around them, but they never were defined by it.